Quickswap, hypercarry. Those are the general roles for characters in Wuthering Waves, but many if not all characters have elements of both that work in their kit. Designating one character to one role, there's no fun in that. Would you rather have a standardized rotation, one character after another, uniform, no changes, or do you want to be an agent of chaos, weaving in and out of combat faster than the eye can see, so much so that you confuse not only yourself, but the enemy? Who's going to attack? Xiangli Yao, Carlotta? Hell if you know, but you're pressing buttons and it's working. Quickswap is, of course, not an act of randomly pressing buttons, but a very skill-intensive gameplay, but it all really comes down to muscle memory after a point of practicing with it. Here's an example of Tempest Femp's Hologram 6 run. I didn't get hit one time, and this is my first try on this run in a long time. Kinda crazy how you can quickswap across the arena to avoid damage as well as parry every single hit. My name is Void Enigma, and I'll be going over how to quickswap. This will include characters like Xiangli Yao and Sanhua and many other things to get you started on the path of learning quickswap. I'll be sure to include gameplay at a digestible rate so you can follow along with ease. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and let's get right into it. So, why quickswap? Firstly, it's a very skill-intensive skill set to learn, but it all comes down to muscle memory and understanding the mechanic. I'll give you the understanding, and you will need to master the skill set. Quickswap, in most cases, allows for a smooth gameplay with using all three characters simultaneously. You may look like a madman, but there is uniform to the chaos that ensues. This is most present in Xiangli gameplay, but other characters can use this very well, even strict hypercarry teams. With Quickswap, you're 1. Able to avoid damage from bosses thanks to constantly displacing yourself, 2. Be able to build your concerto much faster for an easier rotation, and 3. You'll be able to impress your friends with how impressive your combat flow is. This works perfectly on computer, and it is possible on phone. I'll show you how in another section of this video. I don't know about controller though, and I can't be bothered to spend weeks and weeks and weeks learning how to play a controller on Wuwa, but I imagine that it is possible there, but don't quote me on it. The basics of Quickswap is to start the character animation just enough so that their animation carries out, but then you swap to the next character and their animation still plays. Let's take Xiangli Yao. A part of his skill is the zip animation that we see here, which is kinda long. You could actually just swap off once you activate the second portion of the skill to a certain point, and be on field with another character as this plays out. So let's take it a step further and say you use his liberation, and you use the move that gains you stacks, and then you quick swap to let him finish that, and then you swap back to him to activate Law of Rain, and then you quick swap again. The goal is to simultaneously swap when you can. You sometimes want to stay on a particular character. For instance, with a team like Xiangli and Jinhsi, the only fusion character that can fully take advantage of Xiangli's outro right now, is semi-heavy quickswap team because up until Xiangli's outro is triggered, you'll actually be on Jinhsi for the most part. Once her outro is ready, you will swap from Xiangli to fully use it and into Jinhsi, and thanks to the quick swapping, Jinhsi's resonance skill should be max, letting you fire off all of her shots and getting you a 30% attack bonus from her passive. And thanks to her S1, if you haven't gotten a second Jinhsi, then my condolences, her final hit will crit. After that, you will be able to use her liberation, dealing significant damage, and then back to Daka-Dakiing a motherfucker. After you finish her main DPS hypercarry presence, it's back to quickswap until Xiangli's outro is ready again, and then you rinse and repeat. The criteria for quickswap comes down to if a character has many skills that are quick swappable. Generally, the basic attack, the resonance skill, and maybe the forte are quick swappable for all characters, but some outliers are not. The reason I advocate for Carlotta quickswap so heavily in the last video is because her kit thrives with it. Her resonance skill not only immobilizes the enemy, but I'm able to swap to another character during it, and they can do a whole ass animation and get in a lot of damage while the enemy can't even move. It's just fabulous. Along with that, her heavy attack and enhanced heavy attack are also quick swappable in her basic attack, so it's just an ease of use to use her in quick swap. Someone like Camellia, however, is much harder to quick swap. It's possible, yes, but just hard to do. Of course, at the end of the spinning animations you can swap off early, but that's kind of just ending the rotation, which you should be doing anyways. Just remember, everyone can quick swap to an extent, so you should be doing it either way. For example, Jian was the first hypercarry in the game, and for the first team he had Mortifi and Verena with him. I start my rotation quick swapping through Echoes, then back to Mortifi to use his skill into burst, then after I build some Concerto, back to Verena and get her outro off to boost everyone's damage, then back to Mortifi to actually outro out into Jian. While this is happening, I'm making sure to quick swap when using Resonant Skill, then Jian can go to town with his outro buff. Rinse and repeat. I was able to quick swap more defeat skills as well as echoes in this case, and I'm able to build the concerto faster, which is what you should be doing with every team. Now, I get many comments that this is actually impossible on phone, but it's not. It's more difficult for sure, and I'm not the best mobile gamer since I'm normally using a PC, but it's still very much possible once you build the muscle memory. You're going to need to actually finger your phone with elegance to master the quick swap gameplay on it. You need to change the controls, however. You can change the controls here, and this is what I use, and as you can see, I have the character icons closer to my left hand, which involves the movement. With this setup, I'm actually able to quick swap pretty nicely. I do really despise that the characters change their positions, which makes me think 1 second too long sometimes, but I'll be sure to leave feedback and hopefully they can fix that. But I'm getting off some nice quick swaps with Xiangli either way, and I was even able to clear despite me having some minor errors, and this is just definitely possible on phone. My phone is pretty good, so I don't know if it's going to be different if you have a lower end phone, but it is definitely possible to quick swap on phone. I'm rusty of course, but with some practice, you can do it. Let's talk about the quick swaps for every quick swap heavy character, and first up is Xiangli. If you want a deep dive into Carlotta and Xiangli QuickSwaps, which also goes over everything about Xiangli QuickSwapping, check out this video. I don't want to take 8 minutes explaining everything again, so just view that video over there and you'll be able to get everything with Xiangli QuickSwapping, but here is kinda how it looks with Carlotta in slow motion. The video will go over every quick swap method with Xiangli, but I do want to add a couple of things. Basically, whenever you get a charge on Xiangli, treat her swap button as an attack to gain a charge, as well as a honing missile to hit the enemy. It's incredible when you achieve it and are able to stick to the enemy with ease. Yin Lin is another character that needs quick swap to thrive. She can quick swap her resonant skill, her enhanced heavy attack to allow coordinated attacks, and she can even cancel her own animation, such as when you use her enhanced heavy attack into her liberation. Thanks to the new Tempest Memphis Echo for her as well, she's able to even quick swap that. Yin Lin QuickSwap differs from Xiangli because it's not as nice and obvious on how you're actually supposed to do it. You still need to spend some time on field to build up her gauge, but you can actually do that through QuickSwap. By weaving in resonance skill, enhanced heavy attacks, and basic attacks when you can, you'll be just fine with Yin Lin. What I do is start the rotation, then when I actually go onto Yin Lin, I swap cancel her resonance skill first into the healer, then when I actually go back to my main carry through quick swap, I literally press 2 while spamming the click button, and then 1 to actually go to my main carry. Then my main carry does some stuff, and in between each of the quick swappable options for the main carry, I'm literally just pressing 2 and 3 to go back and forth, while Yin Lin gets in a few hits, and I'm using her enhanced heavy attack when I can, her liberation when I can, and basic attacks when I can. You do have to be careful when you actually go in with Shorekeeper because you don't want to intro into her when the field is up, so just watch your Concerto gauge unless you want to just start another liberation with Shorekeeper. You'll begin to just feel like you're just going through all of your characters while spamming the attack button, and then you'll use those payouts when you can, and yeah, that's pretty much how it works. Of course, with every character, you do want to use their resonant skill in between this to fulfill their forte gimmick, and in the essence of combat, as long as you're quick swapping to Yin Lin to get in some damage, she can really get her Concerto filled for that payout of the coordinated attacks. Xiangli Yao, on the other hand, is a beast at quick swap as well. Although he functions fine as a hypercarry with Yin Lin, the best way to use him is quick swap, even with Yin Lin. Even if you're losing the liberation buff from Yin Lin, you could shave off 5 to 20 seconds just by playing him in a quick swap method with Yin Lin. But Xiangli Yao also functions in other quick swap teams. Carlotta, Xiangli, and Jinhsi, they're all options. You're able to quick swap this portion of his resonant skill. In addition, you could quick swap his Law of Rain, the time stop. So in his quick swap teams, you exploit quick swap through these two methods, and of course his Echo skill. Never stay on Xiangli Yao if you don't have his liberation up, unless it's just the beginning of the rotation. His liberation actually lasts quite a bit of time, and in between quick swaps, it's okay if you miss one Law of Rain. As long as you get at least 2 out of 3 during the quick swap, you should be fine if his liberation is always active. If you find yourself not having your liberation up 24/7, then you're going to need a bit of energy recharge on him. I have 126%, and that's enough for me. So let's back it up and explain the essence of his quick swappable moves. When you use his liberation, using his resonant skill will gain him 5 stacks, which is enough to trigger his Law of Rain, the time stop. You want to quick swap this move if he's with a quick swap DPS, and if you're on Yin Lin, I normally quick swap after actually activating the first Law of Rain so that I can keep the buff for that portion of his damage. The skill will go into a cooldown, so you need 3 to 5 seconds on other characters, and then you swap back in and you'll do the same thing again. Use your other characters to build Concerto and build their payout while you're actually using his liberation, and in this case, I'm using this time to actually build Shorekeeper's Concerto and Carlotta's liberation with this particular team. While it's quickswapping, swap back to Xiangli Yao and activate his payout, Law of Rain, repeatedly. Lastly, his Echo skill, you should be using the new Echo skill, the Nightmare Echo of course, which will let you very easily activate and quickswap it. So if you have nothing to do or you need a bit of energy, then you can of course go with the Echo skill. Once you get into the habit of that gameplay, you can skyrocket the team's overall damage. Also, the time stop along with Carlotta is insane, not only for the Tower of Adversity, but also for holograms. The enemy is stopped in place for an extended period of time, and I also want to raise Spectro Rover, but I'm material broke. Eventually, I'll have the full time stop team completely ready to display. Jinhsi is another character that's really excellent in quickswap, but is thought to be a hypercarry, but she can easily weave in quickswappable attacks and come right back in with her ult and her enhanced resonance skill. Her quickswappable moves are as follows. The first part of her resonance skill, where she flies into the air, she can actually carry out the whole animation. When you actually activate her second skill, when she zips across the field, you can quickswap that as well. And of course, her echo skill just activates, so just use it whenever you can. Her laser beam can't be quickswap, but you can immediately swap off when using it, and the resonance skill actually does stop time, so you lose nothing there by letting the animation play out. I don't have Jinhsi, so I can't really play around with it as much as I would like to, but that's the basics of how she performs. Rover is another character that can quickswap both forms in fact, but the Havoc Rover can do it much better. She can quickswap both parts of her elemental skill, whether you have the Scythe or whether you're just doing it normally, and of course the Dreamless quickswap. She's not as skill intensive to quickswap as other characters, but she can dish out some big damage with her Liberation and Dreamless. Make sure to activate Liberation before Dreamless, and quickswap during her Resonance skills. As for Spectro Rover, she's a little more tricky. I'm not too well versed in Spectro Rover's gameplay as I haven't built her yet, but you can generally only swap her second portion of her resonance skill. Sanhua, the best 4-star in the game, is the queen of Concerto energy generation. She has one of the lowest energy requirements for liberations in the game, and here's how her rotation works. Skill, Liberation. While the Liberation animation is going, you'll be holding down the attack button, and then you release the attack button and your gauge is filled. And you're done. If you want your outro, wait for it to actually go off and weave in some basic attacks if you're a little short, but the better option is before it actually goes off, quickswap off. Then you can go right back to her and her outro is instantly ready. And then you can buff who you actually want to buff. Sanhua has the amazing basic attack amplification with her outro, but her biggest boon is that she can outro at an insane rate. Skill into Liberation into hold attack and you're ready 90% of the time, especially if you're using the Overture weapon on her. You don't even need it, as I'm using Endless Collapse and I have absolutely no issues with her outro. Because of this, even a character like Carlotta, who doesn't actually use her outro buff that well, is able to basically progress Carlotta's kit tremendously, allowing her to get off her Liberation much more quickly. It's insane to have the utility of being able to outro constantly. Also, the Moonlit set does buff the incoming character, so there's synergy with that there as well. Quickswapping is so much fun, and it's the best way to play the game in my case. However, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Some characters thrive with it, others not so much, but you should be easing in bits of quickswap anyways, and if you're missing those few seconds on the tower, this could be what you need to push your damage out further. While I've made this entire video explaining how to quickswap, I've only told you the basics and the knowledge to do so. In order to master it, you actually need to go out there and try it. So go out there, beat up some monsters, beat up the tower, beat up the overworld enemies, beat up whatever you want, but make sure that you're doing it while quickswapping. Start small, and then build yourself up from there, and with time, you'll be able to do it with ease. It's a great skill to learn, and once you get it in your bag of tricks for Wuwa, it will really elevate your gameplay. Soon, you'll be a quickswap master with characters like Xiangli and everyone else in the game. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you found it helpful, and thank you so much for watching until the end. This has been Void Enigma, and until next time, Enigma out.